Hey guys, Razor Blade Apple Films here. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Kershaw Blur. So here is the Kershaw Blur in navy blue with a stone-washed blade. And sorry if you can hear some rain outside. Can't really do anything about that. So, getting into the specs. Overall length, knife wasn't even in shot. Overall length is 7.875 inches. Blade length is 3.375 inches. The blade material is Sandvik 14C28N, which I really don't have any experience with at all. We're going to be putting this knife specifically through some tests near the end of the video. It's got a drop point blade, hollow ground, and that's kind of cool. It's kind of like a buck 110. Usually hunting knives are hollow ground, so it's going to be pretty good slicing. Pretty good at slicing. Stonewash finish on the blade. It is made in USA, as you can see right there. It's got a speed safe opening, which pretty much means it's spring assisted. Thumb stud rather than flipper. Handle material is aluminum. Handle length is 4.5 inches. The handle thickness is 0.47 inches. No one really talks about every time I watched a review on this, no one really talked about how thin the blade was. I heard someone say it was really thin, but it's a lot thicker than I thought it would be. So there's a shot of the blade thickness. To give an idea, here it is next to a Kershaw Chill. This is also 3.9 ounces, and it's designed by Ken Onion, so that's pretty much it as far as specifications. The blade is stone-washed. I really like that. That means it's going to hide some scratches as you use it, and I just kind of like the look of it. I would really love it if this blade was black-washed, but with the blue handles. That would be really cool, because the pocket clip is black-washed. So I was on the fence about this knife. I didn't really like the look of it overall. I didn't like this, mainly the Track Tech inserts. That's what this like rubbery stuff is called. I just didn't really like the look of it. I knew it would probably feel, really grippy in hand and it would give a good grip. But just the look of it I didn't really like. And the little like swirl right here in the middle, I don't know, it just kind of didn't really speak to me. I tend to like, here's an example of another Kershaw knife that I actually really like. It's really slim, really sleek. It's the Kershaw Chill. I just like the look of this. But, this is kind of a weird looking design. Almost looks a little bit cheap, but when you get it in your hand, it feels a lot better than it looks. But what really made me like the knife is that the thumb studs, I really wanted to try some thumb studs like this, with the upwards angles, which catch your thumbs really nicely. Like you barely have to press on it and it flies out. But this is one of the few Kershaw knives which is just thumb studs and no flippers, and I don't really like flippers that much. So I definitely wanted to get this. I like the open frame construction with the pillars in there. I liked the stonewash on the blade. I liked the blue handles. I liked the the black-washed pocket clip. If you can see that, it says Kershaw on it. Can't really see the black wash that much. But either way, I wanted to try this, and yeah, I wanted to try the Sandvik steel. But this is, I don't know if this is like a sprint run, or, is this like a Kershaw's version of a sprint run? I don't know. But this blue is limited for, it's new for 2015. I don't know if it's limited, though. But I saw a review on this. Well, I saw a bunch of reviews on this and how the liner lock is failing and everything like that. There's a blade centering real fast. I always forget to show that. Blade centering's perfect. But yeah, I always see like reviews saying the liner lock is bad, or it's kind of like a love it or hate it knife. But I definitely wanted to try it because I saw this guy's review on it. It was like a mini review. He was doing a review on the top 10 knives for under $100. And he had this on there. I was like, really, a Kershaw Blur? I wouldn't think that would be on there. And the torsion bar was out on his, and he was just using it like really smoothly, like just manually. And I was like, I don't know, I kind of really like the look of that. I don't know, it kind of just sold me on that knife. It was a while back when I saw that guy's video, and they didn't have it in blue. They just had like black and like stonewash. I was like, well, and then they had like this S30V, you know, satin blade with the stonewash. But I didn't want it just in black. I kind of wanted a colored version, but they didn't have any color versions. They had like olive green, which kind of looked, I didn't really like the look of it. They had red, but the blade was serrated. So finally they came out with this blue color, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely getting that. And I really love the look of this blue. I don't have any blue knives at the moment, so I really wanted this. I think it just looks really nice. If Spyderco used this color blue on their knives, it's looking a lot lighter on camera, but it's a lot darker than this in real life. It's a lot more of a cobalt blue in real life. So here's just kind of a close-up of this. I've heard some people say that this stuff tends to chip off, but I haven't really had that big of a problem with that yet, which I've only had it for a couple weeks. So you can switch the pocket clip from tip down to tip up, but I like mine like this because it tends to ride deeper, and when you pull it out of your pocket, it just kind of, it's already in your hand rather than having to like, you know, spider crawl your hands upwards like this. So I was wondering what these TrackTech inserts would feel like, and they're very grippy. They're like really hard actually. Like, they're not as rubbery as I thought they would be. They're a really hard rubber. They're not as like abrasive as skateboard tape or skate grip or whatever, but they're very hard rubber. I would compare it to like a mallet, like on those hammers that are like, it's like shredded up though. It's kind of what it feels like. As far as deployment, obviously it's smooth because it's you know, speed assisted. So give it a little flick and it flies out. You can also, like, if you wanted to, you can like middle finger flick it. So I really like the thumb studs. So let's see how this knife would look in the pocket. So you know it hides relatively deep, but because of that bright blue, it's obviously going to stick out a little bit. As far as removing the knife from the pocket, it's smoother than you would think because that pocket clip lines up with the metal. So you're not going to have the grip tech, you know, ripping up your pants because, as you can see, you know, it hits the metal rather than the grip tech, or not grip tech, track tech. So I like this knife a lot more than I thought I would. The ergonomics are pretty good, not the best, but they're definitely not bad, and you definitely have a really good grip with this. With that being said, one of the main cons I have with this knife is this feels really uncomfortable in the pocket when your hand scrubs against it. That's just something to be aware of. So I wouldn't probably carry anything else in the pocket with this because it's going to scratch up against this track tech. Other than that, jimping's pretty much useless. It's really smooth. Also, I don't really use jimping that much. You have like pretty much a good purchase on the with your thumb on the end of the knife. Anyway, just because that little ramp kind of just wants to rest right there. So yeah, I don't really use jimping that much, so it's not really a problem for me. What is a problem for me, like I said, is the track tech, and mainly the liner lock. That if the liner lock was better on this knife, it would be one of my favorite knives. But the liner lock on this one sucks, to say the least. As you can see, the lockup is really early. It's barely even on there, and I have no doubt in my mind that when I do the spine whack test, it's going to fail. I haven't been able to make it fail with just my fingers, or you know, just by pushing on the blade, but I feel like it's going to fail. So if I bought this online, but if I had seen this in stores, which I could never find a blue one, I definitely would have looked through and tried to find the one with a better lockup that's a lot later than that, so it's less likely to fail. But it is easy to close. You know, just push it over. A little bit of resistance pushing it down, but it's no problem. So it is kind of addicting, just kind of flicking this back and forth. The reason I had sold my Kershaw leaks, I've had two. The first one I got was a black wash leak, and it broke within the first day of using it. Literally the first day, the torsion bar broke and the spring assist stopped. So I sent it back and got another one. This time I got the bead blasted one, and the torsion bar broke on that too. And that was within about a week. So I was like, well, I guess I'm done with the Kershaw leak, and that's a shame because I really liked the look of it. I love the Warncliffe style blade and a really thin edge. I don't know, it just looked like it would be a really good knife for like opening packages and boxes and stuff like that where you need a really thin tip to get in between tight spaces. But I sold it just because of that, and I've had no problem with the torsion bar on this one, though if it does break in the future, I don't think I'll mind, just because, there's no flipper on it, it's just a thumb stud, so it's just going to make it really smooth. Well, I've had it for 2 weeks and the torsion bar hasn't broke, and I've been flicking it non-stop. So I don't really have much experience with this Sandvik steel, but we're going to see how that performs up next. So real fast, let's compare this knife with some other options. So here's the Kershaw Blur next to another knife in the same price range. This is the Spyderco Delica, which I love. It's around $60, $65. This is going to be about 60 or 70 depending on which one you get. Maybe 80 if you get the S30V one. This is another Kershaw knife I have, the Kershaw Chill, around the same size as the Delica. And here is a far cheaper knife for, in my opinion, I think it's better quality, Spyderco Tenacious, and it's about the same size. So if you want a Kershaw Blur and you don't know what the size is, it's pretty much the exact same size as a Spyderco Tenacious. Here it is next to a Kershaw Chill. It's a lot bigger. So let's get into some cut tests. Alright, so here's the arrow target stab test with the Kershaw Blur. So as you can see, it kind of didn't go in as cleanly as the other knives just because of that recurve. It kind of went in a little bit weird. Then again, I didn't stab that hard, so let's try again. So there you can see it went all the way in and did a pretty good job. That being said, I really don't trust that liner lock. I've seen a lot of them fail online, and mine isn't the best lockup. So we'll see how that does in a second. As you can see, it's like pretty much right on the edge. But it hasn't failed on me. We're just using it with regular use. So I guess we'll test that in a bit. Alright, here's a stab test on something harder, piece of wood. My last Kershaw bent at the tip, then again that was 8CR13 MOV. So this is a pretty thin tip, but let's see how it does. I don't think it'll break, honestly. Bit pretty deep into the wood. Alright, so the liner lock does hold up if you're just doing a stab. As you can see, the steel didn't bend or anything, so it's a pass on that. Alright, let's see how the liner lock does. Fingers crossed. Yep. Yeah, I do not trust this as a hard-to-use knife just for the fact that the liner is so easy to disengage. Little light taps like this is fine, but just the weight of my hand coming down. Yeah, and I tried this test with all my other knives, even my liner locks. Even the Kershaw Chills liner lock didn't fail this, but this one did. So, I mean, that being said, I wouldn't recommend this as a tactical knife, but, I mean, it's still going to be fine for your EDC use. As long as you don't, as long as you're careful with it, at least. There's another shot of the lockup. You know, I ordered this online, and if I could have, I would have like looked through like all the knives to see, like, you know, if I had found this knife in the stores, I would have found one with a lock that kind of like went a little bit late. But I was gonna see if I could like just make the lock break with my fingers. I can't do that, so guess that's pretty good. It's funny, after I did that liner lock fail, it almost looks like the liner's a little bit more over. I don't know, that might just be me. So, yep, Kershaw Blur did fail the liner lock test. Or the spine whack test. I've never actually had that one that happen with any of my other ones. So while I don't completely trust the liner lock, it still held up to that stabbing test I did. And I did another one afterwards. I don't have it on camera, but it still worked. So the liner lock doesn't fail when just stabbing. So I think, I don't know, it could still be a good self-defense knife, but I wouldn't completely trust it. That being said, the recurve is going to hold up nice, or the recurve is going to be like a good blade geometry when you're cutting through something soft. To give an example, here's a banana tree. It's a pretty soft tree. I just want to see how that would slice. It's going to be kind of awkward reaching around the camera and doing this. So if that was someone's leg or arm, that would most likely be enough to make them think twice or stop whatever they're doing. But just some more slash cuts. So because of that hollow grind, it's just smoothly flying through the material. I feel like it's going to go through some rope really nice too. Let me test that actually, because I actually haven't had a great chance to use this knife yet. So we're going to be doing some more tests on this than we would on the regular knife videos. Plus, like I said, I don't know if I trust the liner lock. So here's an example of how well it cuts through ropes and paracord and stuff like that. Here's some old headphones that are broken. I don't know why you'd be cutting through something like this, but, you know, you can do it. Like, it just flies through stuff like that. Here's just like a regular, brand new sock, just to see how well it might go through clothing. Here's a pretty thick belt. See if we can go through 2 pieces. See if we can do some light chopping on this little vine right here. Alright, so how does it do with opening packages and stuff like that? Of course it flies through tape, but I mean like plastic packages. Here's some charcoal pencils that I just got. Yeah, flew through that. So, you know, this thing just flies through plastic and stuff. So here's a cardboard cutting test. Personally, I never had to cut through cardboard, so, but I've seen a lot of people do it online, so maybe that's something people run into a lot. This one's actually got like a printed back on it and tape, so it's going to be a little bit harder to cut through. That is not going through as cleanly as I would have liked. Okay, it kind of just depends on what angle you're holding the knife. If I kind of just let it slide through like that, it goes through a lot quicker rather than just kind of push cutting it. You know, it's cutting through it really well. It's just kind of awkward doing it around a camera, and I feel like I'm gonna like cut myself like just holding it like this. But the edge appears pretty sharp still. So after all of that, how well did the edge hold up? It doesn't have any chips or anything in it, no bends. And I can tell you the blade came with a shaving sharp edge. So let's just see how it held up. Still sharp enough to fly through a piece of paper. So yeah, still really sharp. So the blade holds up really nicely. I'd say it's probably comparable to VG10, which is like on the Delica. I haven't sharpened it yet, but as you can see, I really don't need to. So overall, the Kershaw Blur, really the only con I have is that the liner lock is not completely trustworthy, but I really like the knife. So I wouldn't, you know, like first of all, you're most likely not going to run into a scenario when you use this for self-defense, but or any other hard tasks. If you accidentally, I mean, if you're using the blade correctly, you know, just by pushing on it, you're not going to have the knife fail on you. But if you are hard using it, or you accidentally slam it into something, you know, I don't know how the liner lock's going to hold up. Depends on how hard you hit the spine, but it is going to fail if you slam it into something. With that being said, I really like the knife. Like, even though like it failed the spine whack test, I still love the knife. I'm still going to keep it. I'm still going to use it for EDC purposes, because, you know, that's what it's meant to do, and I think it'll excel at that. The recurve just allows like really good slicing as well, like combined with the hollow grind. I love the blue handles. It's made in USA, and that's something a lot of people are going to like. Yeah, I mean, overall, I really like the knife. Like, the only bad thing is the liner lock isn't that great. But I can't make it fail just by pushing on it. So it's plenty strong for what you're going to be using it for. So overall, this one is about $70. I would get the, if you really like the look of the knife overall and you don't mind having, you know, just black or something like that, I would either get the cheapest version of this possible, because it is, I'd say, about worth that. It's worth the price, about $55 to $60. I got this one for $75. I don't really know if it's worth it just because of the liner lock. You know, a cheaper knife, Spyderco Tenacious, has a lot better quality. The liner lock is a lot stronger, and that's only about $47. So, you know, you're going to be overpaying a little bit. Yeah, I do believe the knife is priced a little bit high. Or I would get the S30V version, which you're going to have a lot better steel, and you might have a better liner lock, I don't know. So, you know, overall though, I'd still recommend the knife. If you love the look of it, I'd say definitely get it. If you're on the fence, I mean, you're going to have to make that decision yourself. I still got it. I don't regret my purchase. Something about the knife I really like, even with the liner lock not being that strong. So, you know, if you're just using it for EDC purposes, I think it's a great knife. So that is my review on the Kershaw Blur. Thanks for watching. Here's another example of how this thing does against plastic.